what do you expect from them?
I chose to be a high school coach because I know just some of the most formative years in a young man's life. It was for me, and my high school coach was a massive part of that. I would say step number one is to form that team with the parents. They can come in and talk about anything to you, but also having those scheduled check-ins with me. We also have a director of operations here who's the head of our counseling department.
But like what do you like to do when you're out there now? Like what are you seeing that every high school kid needs to be able to do?
There wasn't necessarily a clear path for me to enter the lineup. And
what advice would you give them to make sure that they're still being able to, get to that next level and be successful?
We intentionally schedule a national schedule in December. Mm-hmm. Just in our first 4 games, we have Spalding, Georgetown Prep, Gonzaga, and IMG in the first 2 weekends that we're playing. Mm-hmm. And we had an opportunity. They were doing a little bit of run and jump, trying to turn us over before they had to get into the foul game.
Top 2 or 3 moments, versus Gonzaga.
Whew. We want to learn, and then after the new year, that's when that conference play, and we want to find your identity before that really starts.
Who you with?
Game related.
Stay game related, man.
My man. Stay game related, man.
Stay game related, y'all.
Stay game related, man.
Stay game related.
My man. Stay game related.
Stay game related, man. The best in the business.
Stay game related. You gotta stay here locked in.
When you make it in life, you always want to give back. Yeah. Same what you doing right now. These kids
have faith, believe in God. Cool. Just put that work in.
Stay game related, man.
Stay game related, man. Listen, game related for sure. My man.
Yeah, stay game related, y'all.
So stay game related.
Stay game related.
Stay game related. Game related. Stay game related.
Stay game related.
All right, stay game related.
Stay game related. Stay game related.
My man. Stay game related.
Stay game related.
All right. Stay game related, man.
Stay game related.
Stay game related.
Stay game related. All right, my man. Stay game related. Stay game related.
Yeah. Stay game related.
My man.
Stay game related.
My man.
Y'all better stay game related.
When the whole world be waiting for you, but if you want some local shit, you won't even know.
Welcome to Game Related, where we highlight opportunities and obstacles from former athletes with the thought process of giving future generations a better understanding about the game. These conversations are meant to bring awareness to the hardships and opportunities that come with the game. Let's get game related. All right, y'all, we are back with another episode of Game Related. As y'all can see, we are at St. John's. This is a rival, but we are welcomed and very thankful that we have been welcomed in here. We got head coach Pat O'Connor in the building. Very excited about this episode. We're going to get into his story, but also expectations of, St. John's this year, what it's like to recruit the 6th, 7th, 8th grades, and then obviously we're going to talk about recruiting on the high school level as well, man. So, man, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you, brother.
Yes, sir, man. So, man, I want to get right into it. Talk about, you guys this season's about to start tomorrow, right? What is your expectations of the school year? Talk about some of your players, just give us the jazz about what's going on.
Sounds great. Like any year, we hope to compete for 2 championships at the end of the year. The first being the WCAC Championship. We feel like if we stay healthy, we control the controllables, we should be in the mix to compete. There are many other schools in our league that also have the same goal, and that's what makes the league so special. Second goal of ours at the end of the year is for DC State Championship. This is my 3rd year as a head coach, and we have not won it since I've been the head coach, and so it's a goal of mine to get to that point. And, our roster kind of starts with our 2 seniors, Jeremy Clark and Zion Chase. Mm-hmm. They were both a part of this program when we won the last WECC.
They were freshmen?
They were freshmen, yeah. So they have seen it. We were 32-4 that year. They have the experience and knowledge of what it takes to win, and so they'll be driving the bus for us. And then we have some really good, sophomores and juniors. Jai Mavini will be a cornerstone of kind of what we are building towards. Jordan Taylor coming to us from Bishop McNamara. James DiBattista coming to us from St. Mary's Annapolis. Kareem Smith-Bay, one of the top sophomores in the area. And so, we have a really good group of families, really good group of players. And so as long as we continue to stick process-oriented, I think we'll have a chance down the stretch.
Nice, man. I'm very excited to see what you guys are doing, even though I have my biases, when it comes to this, man. I definitely root for you guys from afar. Talk to me about, I guess, I want to say like middle of the season. Like I often hear like coaches say, man, there's some adjustments that we always make, once we kind of get a feel for, what the players are doing and things of that nature. Do you as a coach personally, how do you go about that? Are you looking for certain adjustments and stuff during the middle of the year?
Certainly. We intentionally schedule a national schedule in December. Just in our first 4 games, we have Spalding, Georgetown Prep, Gonzaga, and IMG in the first 2 weekends that we're playing. And so, we want to make sure that we're putting our team through the fire early. We want to learn. And then after the new year, that's when that conference play, and we want to find your identity before that really starts. And so our goal is, throughout December, through the wins and through the losses, making sure that we're able to learn and then form that identity come January, and then just try to be at our best come late February.
Okay. So expectations. I want to ask 2 of them, right? What should players expect from you as a head coach?
I think the first one you should always expect from me would be caring about them as a person first, player second. I chose to be a high school coach because I know just some of the most formative years in a young man's life. It was for me, and my high school coach was a massive part of that. And so I can speak from my personal experience for that, and I'm going to prioritize that. So we want to make sure that we create a positive, informative high school experience for the individual players, for the collective team, for the families, for the coaches. I know I'm biased as a high school coach, but I think it's one of the best things in the world is high school basketball. And so I lean into that, and that's something that I will never waver from. And then I think you can also just expect to be invested in, right? You've seen the resources that are here at St. John's. It's something that we want to take advantage of, and we want to invest in these people and players to help them grow. And those would be the 2 things I think would be standing out for me.
Okay, and let's talk about from a player's perspective, what do you expect from them?
I think that we're trying to really find people who opt in to the St. John's experience. And so what that looks like is you're going to class, you're wearing your uniform, you are representing your family, yourself, the school well on and off campus. These are things that are non-negotiables for us. But then along with that comes hopefully a great work ethic to take advantage of the resources and investment that we put into you. And through my 10 years of being in the DMV area, if you're someone who has the work ethic, who is humble through the process, right, is impatient with actions, but patience with the results, we see a lot of success. And so we're identifying players and families who want to opt into that experience.
Okay, I like that. That's a good answer. So, man, I want to jump into recruiting a little bit, right? Like when you're looking at a kid, what are the things that you're looking for, I guess, character-wise, and also skill-wise from a basketball player's perspective?
Sure, yeah. I think that we try to break it down. We call it like the ABCs of recruiting. Okay. So the A would be academics, right? Are you looking for a traditional high school experience where, we have homecoming, we have prom, you're going to class, right? You build relationships with students from all over the DMV who are here. You'll get to know your teachers. You'll have community service. There are certain things that are the embodiment of St. John's, and we want people to want that too, not just to come in and feel like they have to do it. They want to be a part of the full St. John's community academically. The next thing is basketball, right? You have to have the skill set. Yeah. We started this interview by saying, what are our expectations and what are our goals? We want to compete for a championship at the WCAC and DC state level. Well, the teams that have won that historically are usually a top 25 team in the country. So that is a high-level brand of basketball, and so we're evaluating that too. We want to make sure that it is the right fit on the court for you and for us. And then finally, like you mentioned, the character piece, right? So we want to make sure that families are one that are going to trust us with their child. This is a situation where we're going to spend a lot of time together, and we want to make sure that we find families that we can lose with before we can find families that we can win with. And so those are families that will trust the staff, will make sure they're representing our program on and off the court well. And we also want to form a team with those families to support their child, because inevitably there are growth opportunities that can be amplified if the head coach of the high school program and the parents are all on the same page.
Yeah, man, that's when I think about high school, you're literally taking a kid, that is 13, 14, 15, whatever it may be, and you're growing through those teenage years, which is very rebellious, right? Very high testosterone kicking in, right? And you're trying to figure out how to make them the best version of themselves, So I love that. And it's a very small window. So, man, I want to get into this. Gonzaga, St. John's rivalry,
Sure.
What does that mean to you?
I think it's something that I have grown to love. And it amplifies the St. John's experience for our guys. For me, right, I grew up in a household with 5 brothers. Mm-hmm. Competition has been something that's been very familiar and comfortable for me.
Yeah.
And so having such a formidable opponent like Gonzaga on our schedule every year, something that's a great barometer for us. It's just a super healthy rivalry for us. And it's a situation where, the players care about it, the coaches care about it, the teachers care about it, the alumni base care about it, and
more than you.
Yeah, right. just being a part of that rivalry is something that's super special, and we don't take it for granted at all.
Nice. Give me maybe if you can remember, maybe your top 2 or 3 moments, versus Gonzaga.
Whew. Man, well, they're going to be biased towards the St. John's.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There have been some heartbreaking moments and some phenomenal moments on both sides in my 10 years here. I would say top moment would likely be the year we won the championship. We had beaten them twice in the regular season, and the old adage of it's really hard to beat a team 3 times.
Was that when Mac was here?
Yep, Malik
Okay.
Mack
Yep.
was running the point guard for us. And so we knew that was going to be a super, super tough game. And we had a lead, and they cut it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had an opportunity. They were doing a little bit of run and jump, trying to turn us over before they had to get into the foul game. And just Donnie Freeman hit a huge wing 3 to put us up 2 possessions. And I think that was a super important moment for us.
That was at AU, right?
I was at AAU, yeah.
I remember that.
Semifinal, and that obviously gave us the opportunity to then compete for a championship, which we ended up getting in done. So a great memory there against Gonzaga. And then I would say just some of the home games that we've had. And it does not matter if we are 20 wins at that point, our team is not performing to the standard, or vice versa for them. It does not matter records at all, rosters at all. Mm-hmm. Just knowing that it's going to be an all-out war for 32 minutes against them, I always can look back fondly on those memories, and I'm excited for this year as well.
Nice. So, man, I want to get into just, I guess, the game behind the game, right? How are you helping your kids navigate through, now you got NIL, I even say social media, how are you helping these kids navigate through all these gray areas?
I would say step number 1 is to form that team with the parents, right? Mm-hmm. Making sure that you find parents who want to be here at St. John's. And, every fall I have a sit-down dinner. My wife and I have a sit-down dinner with the families of all returning players. And we sit down and just talk about the year. And, once the season gets started, it's a lot of game planning, rehab, lift. You're just constantly on a schedule. And so having that time in the fall just to level set with each other, mm-hmm. make sure you form that bond to support the child, because ultimately they still are children, right? Yeah. As much as people want to try to get them to become adults, these are children who are learning through their adolescent years. Mm-hmm. And so always keeping the growth mindset at the forefront for them. And then ultimately, with the player, making sure that you have an open door policy. And so they can come in and talk about anything to you, but also having those scheduled check-ins with me. We also have a director of operations here who's the head of our counseling department. And so he has these confidential one-on-one check-ins with our players just to make sure that they're comfortable with speaking their mind, getting things off their chest, and they feel like they're supported through the ups and downs inevitably that are going to happen during your high school career.
Okay. Now tell me, so obviously college basketball, you got what, transfer portal, obviously you got NIL, you got kids coming in from the G League now, right? You got kids coming from Europe, right? And the players that are getting shorted are the high school kids.
Sure.
You know, what, I guess it's out of your control, but, you know, what advice would you give them to make sure that they're still being able to, you know, get to that next level and be successful? And then from a high school standard, right, like association of high school, like, is there anything you wish that could change?
I think start off with what advice would I give players? You know, it's the classic, you know, go where you're wanted, making sure that, you know, you do calculate kind of the logo of the school, the level. Of course, that's a factor, but it should not be the factor in your decision. So I want to make sure that, you know, there's a relationship between the head coach and the family, the assistant coach and the family, making sure that academically this is where you want to go. And so as much as the NIL and the level can have an impact, which it should, you also still want to value appropriately the other aspects of the college experience. And then when you're able to take a step back and then fully weigh all of those factors, and then you talk with your circle, keeping your circle small, just making a decision that the kid is driving, that is supported by his circle, I think is super important, because then, again, when things go poorly or well, you know, there's a unified front supporting that player, and then you can evaluate as necessary.
Now, I love that. And there's a couple things that you said I really love, and it was go where you're wanted, like kind of like who likes you, right? You know, it's going to sound crazy when I say this. Maybe it doesn't. But, like, it's like dating in a way. You know, like, you want to like who likes you. You don't want to go around chasing somebody that don't really value you, you know. And you got to make sure that you guys are aligned on so many different things. And the last thing was when you spoke on being an aligned unit. You know, a lot of times what I see is, you know, you'll have a player thinking one way, a parent thinking another way, a trainer thinking another way. And, like, then you have your coach who may not, like, there's, like, 4 people that are very important, it seems like now, because everybody has a trainer. Everybody has their high school coach. You got your parent. And then the player has their own thoughts. You know, keeping them all on the same page is, to me, a must. But it seems like now it's just harder than ever. You know, I guess from obviously you guys have your way of going about it. But, like, from a player or a parent who may be listening that is not from St. John's, like, what advice would you give to try to keep that unit tight?
Yeah, I would say, like, the first thing with my role with the high school basketball coach hat on is to not give the player the answers. You should do this, you should go there. It's to ask questions to help the player reflect on things that I think that are valued in this decision-making process, and then helping them come to their conclusion, because ultimately it's their experience. It's not my experience. I'm not the person that's going to class every day or, you know, practicing with this team or in the weight room every day. It's them. And so I don't want to be in a situation where I'm telling them what to do. I want to be kind of a soundboard for them to talk through things that they're considering and ultimately drive them to make the ultimate decision. As far as, like, the advice goes for the circle, find people who cared about you and loved you before this became a thing.
Yes.
You know, these are people who, when this thing is no longer driving a lot major decisions in your life, will still be there for you. Or, God forbid, this is taken away from you earlier than you think it may be. And so, you know, you want to have basketball people in that circle who are able to talk about the X's and O's. But again, that should be appropriately valued in that experience and should not be the only driver.
Great question, great answer. I love that. That's good. So man, I wanna jump into. So man, tell me. Obviously, we got B-Hand Strong right here. Tell me what Pat means to you and what he means to St. John's program.
I'll start with like what he means to me as someone who believed in me when I was early on in my coaching career here. Sean McElwain brought me to St. John's, but I really felt like I grew the most in my 5 years with Coach Behan, and he's a friend, and he's someone that has exemplified immense courage in the face of the adversity that nobody could really even imagine for him. What he means to the school, he's always been special to the school, and it's my job, and it's my opinion, it's my job as the head coach to make sure that he remains special to our program and this is school. And so, I always think back to the spring before our championship season. He went to the doctor and he got this, devastating news that he was diagnosed with ALS. The outlook on that was, hey, you have about a year or two to live. And it always remains so strong in my heart, and will always be as forever when I coach, is he chose to coach when he said, okay, you have a year or two to really be active and to be able to do anything. He chose to be a high school basketball coach. And so any moment where the stress is getting to me, or the wins and the losses, just the ups and downs of being, in this space, I always that's my foundation, and will forever be that foundation of, if I had a year to live, like would I choose to coach, just like Coach Behan did, that will forever be with me, and hopefully with this program as well.
Nice. Now, if somebody wanted to donate to his cause, how would they go about that?
They have social media, so Behan Strong on Instagram would be a great place to start. But even if you just Google Behan Strong on online, they have a website. Just an immense showing of the power of the DMV basketball community happened recently. They needed a new bed for Behan, and his wife Natalie, who has been an absolute rock, a superstar. She put up a GoFundMe for $7,500, and within 48 hours, the GoFundMe had raised over $14,000. And so, obviously, we still have love for Coach Behan, and I hope that was an awesome symbol to him of how many people still care about him and still love him, and want to support him in any way we can.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So, man, let's jump into X and O's, right? Like, talk about your preparation for games, and like, what do you like? I know you can't give out too much sauce, but like what do you like to do when you're out there?
Great. I mean, I always think about the old saying, I'm a good coach when I have good players. And so like the first thing is making sure that you have good players who are buying into the aspect of I play hard and I'm a great teammate, right? That has to be the foundation of any X's and O's you have, is people who are talented, who are willing to play hard and be great teammates. Then I think it's kind of an evaluation from year to year. What are your strengths going into the season? What do you want to make sure that, it's as simple as when you're playing a game, is the game trending towards your strengths or the opponent's strengths? And so that requires obviously a clear understanding of what your strengths and weaknesses are, but also doing the homework as far as the opponent. What are their strengths and weaknesses? And so we try to make sure that we prepare our guys to highlight our strengths and to hopefully eliminate the opponent's strengths as well. Okay.
What would you say is important in high school basketball as far as like skill wise now? Like what are you seeing that every high school kid needs to be able to do?
I mean, the game is ever evolving. We've already spoke on the fact that, college basketball is now a professional league. And so that that next level, we always say professionalism is a new standard for high school. So we want to make sure that we have that professional work ethic where through the ups and the downs of the season or just through your high school career, you are maintaining a strong work ethic and developing a holistic game, right? Being able to dribble, pass, and shoot, and be someone who not only elevates yourself but elevates others, because that can often be a missed skill set in today's world.
Okay. Talk to me about, obviously you're not from here, but what brought you to St. John's? And just I want to talk about, what do I call it, your evolution, in the St. John's, being freshman, JV, varsity, and what have you learned in those processes?
Great. Yeah, I'll just take it all the way back. Obviously, I grew up in Richmond. Mom is an elementary school teacher. My dad is a sports writer for the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Covers the University of Richmond basketball.
Okay.
I grew up in a household of 6 boys. My 5 brothers are adopted, and so it kind of just put me in a life of competition, right, with all those boys in the house.
Right.
But it also helped me grow my empathy muscle, with just all of us are so different, just from the nature versus nurture piece of it, and so I learned how to be empathetic to people's differences at such a young age. After that, had an awesome high school career, not necessarily on the court, but just had a really, really good group of friends, a very good high school basketball coach that was in it for the right reasons, and I have very fond memories of my high school career. I went on to play at Washington and Lee University Division III program. And a pivotal moment kind of in my life would be after my freshman year, which I didn't play that much. Division III is not a scholarship situation, so you have the option to opt in or opt out each year. And I came home that summer, and I just wasn't sure if I wanted to continue doing that. The person who was playing over me was coming back for his senior year, and there wasn't necessarily a clear path for me to enter the lineup. And there's that insecurity of, I could really work hard this off season, and I could still not, earn more minutes or kind of get what I'm trying to work
Right.
towards, and that was scary to me. And so, as a 19-year-old kid, I was kind of shying away from that. But fortunately, my dad was that rock for me and said, well, now you understand what it takes to be a college player. You've seen it for a year. Trust in your work to be able to prepare for it and live with the results from there. And so, thankfully, I made a decision just to stick with it, and ended up playing, all 4 years in college. I was a captain junior and senior year, and was a super formative part of my life. And obviously, basketball is a major part of my life now, and I couldn't imagine having not played in college. And so then, after college, I was a part of a fellowship program in DC, and I worked at E.L. Haynes Public Charter School as a teaching resident.
Okay.
And so it was a 3-year program. I was there for my first year, but then I got connected with Sean McAloon, who coached in Richmond before he came up to St. John's. He was at Benedictine, who was one of our opponents. And so we got connected. We had a freshman position that was open, and it just ended up working out where I was able to come here my second year out of college.
Nice.
I was going to be the freshman coach, and I just stayed in the gym with them. So if we practiced from 5 to 7 with freshmen, I was here from 3 to 5, just helping out with varsity rebounding, being a dummy defender, just trying to contribute in any way possible. I would go watch opponents and try to get some scouts for our team, and learned a lot from Coach Mack and the way he ran his program. And then the following year, he went to IMG. Coach Behan became the head varsity coach here, who was also under that Coach Mack umbrella. And I just went full-time varsity assistant with him. We kind of learned together about how to build a successful program here at St. John's. And then, so much has happened with Coach Behan in the last few years. And I hope to, continue the positive momentum that he has put forth for us.
Okay. Awesome, man. So my last question is handling success, right? Every kid, when they come into high school, they want to, get to the top of the mountain. But once you get there, everybody's picking at you, telling you you're not good enough. Right? A lot of distractions. What advice would you give to a parent and a player on handling success?
I think my short answer would be to be process oriented. The long answer would be, there's a growth mindset and there's a fixed mindset. We'll start with the fixed mindset. That means that the results that you get define who you are, and that is not a healthy place to be. You want to be a part of the growth mindset where if you win, you're back in the gym trying to get better. If you fall short of what your goals are, you remain process oriented. You're back in the gym trying to get better. That is the healthiest space to be in, because you control your actions, which then ultimately will end in the results that you're looking for. And so allowing your work and your process to be the drive of your decisions and your habits will ultimately result in getting the end result that you're looking for.
Now, I love that, man. I was always told the person who makes the most mistakes usually wins in life, as long as they learn from their mistakes. Oh man, I love that. Let me ask you this: is there anything that we did not cover that you wanted to speak on before we wrap this up? Right?
Nothing on the top.
All right, cool, man. Well, I'm gonna tell you this: I wish you all the success, except for when you play Gonzaga.
I would expect nothing less. For
All
sure.
right.
Yeah,
Cool,
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Now, this has been a great show. I definitely appreciate you coming on, man. This was I learned a lot today. You know, one of the things that really stood out to me was, right, it was more than basketball. You know, it's about character building. I always say, you know, we kind of talked off camera about this, but you know, the kids who have the character base, because you just never know when you're done with this basketball thing. And the kids who are a little bit more measured that way have an easier time transitioning out of it. You know, we always, on the show, we always talking about how tough it is to transfer out of basketball. And the kids who are a little bit more balanced have an easier time, you know, and I love that you are focusing on that, you know, with the kids in your program, man. So I think that's a big kudos to you for understanding that.
Thank you.
No. All right, y'all. That is a wrap on this episode, man. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, and share, and always stay game related.